Welcome back to my channel. This is Majestically Maya, and today's video is just a continuation of that journey to motherhood. Yesterday, we did have a follow-up appointment, but before I talk about that, I just wanted to do like a retrospective on how I feel now versus some things that I said in the last video. Okay, because I was pretty adamant at the end that I was going to complain and I was going to do all these things and voice my grievances. I actually haven't done that yet. I'm still wrestling with whether or not I want to address that now, or I don't know if that's going to be helpful, or I think that it could be helpful, but I think that maybe I'm waiting for the right delivery. Let me just put that on pause. There's always going to be a reason to complain if you're looking for it. So yesterday we did have the follow-up appointment with the OBGYN, and surgery did go well with the DNC that I had to have. One thing that kind of put the loss back into perspective was when we entered the office, and already I was just feeling a little anxious. I didn't really want to be there to begin with. We go to check in, and the lady, out of habit, gives me the little label with my name printed on it to pee in the cup. And I definitely wasn't rude, but I wasn't particularly nice. Probably sounded a little bitter. Yeah, I definitely was taken aback by her giving me the label, and I told her, I was like, am I still expected to pee in a cup after a DNC? I've been on pelvic rest. Nothing should be going on. And she was like, you can refuse. And I was like, I refuse. And I went to find some place to sit. And this day was just more packed with patients than it had been previously. There were so many, obviously, pregnant moms and babies running around. It was really hard to be there. And I think the same for my husband. But for me, I just buried myself in my phone, scrolling on social media to avoid crying. And eventually I definitely did cry. But I definitely felt that my fight or flight instincts was kicking in, that those instincts were kicking in. Of course, you're not going to fight people. But I definitely felt like I wanted to run out that door like a thief that had just snatched a purse. I just felt like, I don't want to be here. I don't belong here, but I definitely want to hear the plan for the future. So I had to stay there. We finally make it back to one of the holding areas, or not even holding, but like the next step before actually seeing the doctors, where they take your blood pressure and ask if there are any updates or anything that you want to discuss with the doctor in particular, just making some notes on the chart. And the lady recognized us because we had really connected before in the visits that we had, and she empathized and she understood that we had a loss and that it will probably be a little uncomfortable to be in the lobby area with all of the obviously pregnant moms and the babies, and definitely allowed us to get back to be seen by the OB quicker than I think we would have, even though it was our appointment time. But she understood that it was tough to do, and she said that she'd been in that position. And so I think that if you watched the last video, you can think of her reaction and her experience and how she related to us empathetically and respectfully, in contrast, a stark contrast to the lady that called me before the DNC. So even if I don't follow up with those grievances and air them out with the entities in the health care, I think that this could be a learning moment for anybody that's in the field. See how that lady behaved? See how the other lady behaved? Don't be the first lady. Be the lady from yesterday that was helpful, empathetic. We didn't talk too long about it, but she understood and she helped us by ending the suffering in the lobby. The last thing that I've been struggling with is acclimating back to the way that I was before the pregnancy in regards to self-care, right? I've always been someone that drank a good amount of water each day. And also I took my daily vitamins, like a daily hair, skin, and nail vitamin. I would do that all the time. Well, of course, during pregnancy, I dropped that and I started to take prenatal vitamins. And then my doctor wanted me to increase my water intake to, I think at one point I was drinking like 3 liters. Yeah, because I had a huge bottle that I threw away after all of that. I threw a lot of stuff away after the miscarriage. But for me to break that habit and let myself actually understand that you miscarried, this process is over, I had to force myself to stop drinking that same amount of water that I was drinking, because it was something that I was consciously thinking about rather than a natural take a sip every now and then. And I think if I would have maintained that mentality, then I would have been even more disappointed when I get closer to my due date, which was June 24th, 2024. I don't think I'll ever forget that, but I didn't want to still be treating my body as if I was still in that process. And then that day comes and I have like some breakdown, or not a mental breakdown, but just an emotional understanding and a hard lesson to be learned. So I shut that off. And then I realized I wasn't drinking enough water and I've been a little dehydrated. My nails, which were really pretty and long in the last few videos, now, in addition with the lack of water and vitamins that I have not been taking, also my hormones and all of that have changed. So my nails are terrible. I have to resume taking my vitamins and taking better care of myself. I do work from home, so I don't absolutely have to leave home. And I have not resumed the jujitsu and karate and all of the things, the physical activities that I partook in before the pregnancy. And I'm not in a rush to resume those things because I know that I do have to have the fibroid removal surgery. Of course, people keep mentioning to me, oh, you should leave the house, you got to go here. Well, I'm watching the church service online. I can read my Bible here. I can talk to my friends here. Video chatting is there. You know, creating things and using the skill sets and indulging in the hobbies and interests that I have is just what I've been doing. Besides, so I hadn't left since I returned home for the DNC and then the appointment yesterday. So that was about a month. Another thing that I've been struggling with is just like feeling with a liar, and it's kind of tied into not wanting to leave the house, because the last time you left, you're pregnant, you're telling people. And now it's like, like it's something that you're going to have to overcome every time that you interact with someone that saw you before. I was pregnant. I said I was pregnant. I was asked before and confirmed with many people, and now I'm not. So I just kind of feel it's almost like, I don't know if it's a sense of imposter syndrome, or I don't know how to articulate that, but I feel like disingenuous or like a liar parading around now, not pregnant, but I was, and I said that I was, and like I was, but I guess again, it's tied to the sense of loss, that there's nothing to show for it. So I still have that emptiness too, where it's, and maybe I'm just in denial or still in shock. And then I talked to my mom and I said, you know, actually, I know it's going to be a long time before I can get pregnant again, because like I said, I do have to have the myomectomy and I have to recover and heal completely before we try again. But I guess in my mind, I'm just not even prioritizing leaving the house, because I want to eventually be leaving the house pregnant again in some twisted way, but you can't put life on hold. Another thing that I've been struggling with is the timeline. I did mention before in the last video that I had updated the student loan information and they asked, oh, will you have a dependent by, in 2024? And I said yes, because yeah, I was going to. I was about 3-4 months pregnant, yeah. But no, I don't know that that's a possibility. And now, speaking of the timeline, yesterday the OB informed us that because of my fibroids, the size of them, I am not a good candidate for the laparoscopic myomectomy, which is the least invasive procedure where they can do incisions on the stomach or in the outside and just go through the hole, go in and do the surgery internally. I'm not a good candidate for that because my fibroids would be larger than the size of the incision that they would make. So I'm going to have the traditional surgery where they do the cut, the incision, as if I'm having a C-section. It's so unfortunate. It's kind of cruel to be first in labor for a few days and then miscarry, and then now to essentially have surgery associated with labor and pulling out the uterus and the baby and all that. So I'm going to have two experiences and still nothing to show for it. Not now, but in the future. In the meantime, we do have a plan, at least there's something to celebrate. So now, 2 weeks, we're going to do an ultrasound to determine exactly where the fibroids are located, because during the pregnancy, they were unable to tell me exactly where they were located. So of course, I've done a ton of research, and I wanted to know, is it in the muscle? Is it, under the wall? Or, I'll throw out the terms, you guys. Some of you may be in the medical field, I don't know. Is it intramural? I know that I have one that's pedunculated, but is it submucosal or subserosal? I wanted to know. We are going to pinpoint the fibroids so that I know exactly what to expect during the surgery and recovery and all of that. And that's 2 weeks from now, that we're going to have that appointment. So I have to endure the environment again. And then on that day, we get to schedule the surgery. So I have something else to look forward to, one step at a time. But this is where we are now. And so was vlog number 2 for the journey to motherhood.